Chapter 10. The docks ignite. The docks were alive with motion. The cold night air carried the metallic clang of cargo crates, the low rumble of truck engines, and the occasional bark of orders. Dominic Rossi stood near a cluster of containers, his sharp eyes scanning the operation. Around him, men worked with quiet efficiency, moving crates and loading them into unmarked trucks. Maria Rossi approached, her expression sharp. Everything's on schedule. Trucks 1 and 2 are ready to roll. Dominic nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon where the water met the night sky. Good. Make sure Joey's keeping an eye on the cameras. If Walsh is anywhere near here, I want to know before she gets close. Maria smirked. She won't get close. Not this time. From their vantage point, hidden in the shadows of a dilapidated warehouse across the lot, Lena Walsh and Marcus Dalton watched the scene unfold. The operation was larger than they had expected. At least a dozen men moved through the area, all armed, all alert. Trucks idled in a line, their engines humming softly. "This is insane," Marcus whispered, his voice tight with fear. "There's no way we're getting out of here alive if they spot us." Lena didn't take her eyes off the scene. "We're not here to fight them. We're here to gather evidence." Marcus gestured toward the armed guards. "Yeah? And how exactly do we do that without ending up dead?" Lena pulled out her phone, activating its camera. She zoomed in on the crates being loaded into the trucks, capturing the markings and the faces of the men handling them. "We document everything," she said. "Then we call for backup." Marcus's hands fidgeted as he glanced back toward the truck line. "You sure backup's going to come in time?" "It has to," Lena said, her voice firm. But deep down, she wasn't as confident as she sounded. Inside the operations control van, Joey Eyes Fontana watched a wall of security monitors. The feeds showed every corner of the dockyard, the cameras carefully placed to cover blind spots. He leaned forward, squinting as one screen flickered, a faint shadow moving along the edge of the lot. "Dominic," Joey said into his headset. "We've got company." Dominic's voice came back calm but sharp. "Who?" "Can't see clearly yet," Joey said, typing furiously to enhance the feed. The shadow resolved into 2 figures, Lena and Marcus, crouched behind a stack of pallets. "It's Walsh and Dalton." Dominic's jaw tightened. "Maria, change of plans. We're dealing with them now." Maria nodded, signaling to the guards. Within seconds, the men fanned out, weapons drawn, their movements precise and deadly. Lena felt it before she saw it, the shift in the air, the sudden silence as the operation ground to a halt. She nudged Marcus, her voice a whisper. "They know we're here." Marcus's eyes widened in panic. "What do we do?" "Stick to the plan," Lena said, though her heart pounded in her chest. She grabbed his arm, pulling him deeper into the shadows. "We need to move. Now." They crept along the edge of the lot, keeping low and using the stacked crates for cover. But the guards were closing in, their flashlights sweeping through the darkness. "Over there!" a voice shouted, followed by the sharp crack of a gunshot. Lena ducked, dragging Marcus with her as a bullet ricocheted off the container above their heads. She pulled out her gun, returning fire to keep the guards at bay. "This isn't the plan!" Marcus shouted, his voice trembling. "The plan just changed," Lena snapped. "Stay close to me." From across the lot, Dominic watched the chaos unfold with a calm intensity. "Joey, keep an eye on their movements. I want them boxed in." "They're heading east, toward the docks," Joey reported. "Perfect," Dominic said, his lips curling into a cold smile. "That's where we'll finish this." Lena and Marcus reached the edge of the dockyard, the water lapping quietly against the pier. They were cornered, the sound of approaching footsteps closing in. "This is bad," Marcus muttered, glancing around for an escape route. Lena scanned the area, her mind racing. She spotted a small rowboat tied to the pier, its faded paint barely visible in the dim light. "There," she said, pointing. "We can use that to get out." "You're kidding, right?" Marcus said. "We'll be sitting ducks." "Do you have a better idea?" Lena asked, already moving toward the boat. Before they could reach it, A figure stepped out of the shadows. Dominic Rossi stood there, a gun in his hand and a smug smile on his face. "Detective Walsh," Dominic said, his voice smooth. "I was hoping we'd meet again." Lena raised her weapon, her aim steady. "Drop the gun, Dominic. It's over." Dominic laughed, shaking his head. "You really think this ends with me? You take me down, someone else takes my place. That's how this city works." "Maybe," Lena said, "but it starts with you." The sound of more footsteps drew her attention as Maria and the other guards appeared, their guns trained on her and Marcus. They were surrounded. "Put the gun down, detective," Dominic said, his tone sharp. "You're outnumbered, and we both know how this ends if you don't." Lena hesitated, her mind racing. She couldn't take them all on, not like this. Slowly, she lowered her weapon, setting it on the ground. "Smart choice," Dominic said. He nodded to Maria. "Tie them up. We'll deal with them later." As Maria approached, Lena's gaze flicked to Marcus. He gave her a subtle nod, his hand inching toward the flare gun tucked into his jacket. The flare lit up the night, a blinding streak of light shooting into the sky. The guards recoiled, momentarily stunned, as Marcus grabbed Lena's arm and pulled her toward the rowboat. "Go!" Lena shouted, shoving Marcus into the boat as gunfire erupted around them. She pushed off the dock, jumping in as the boat drifted into the water. Bullets splashed around them, but they were out of range within seconds. Lena grabbed the oars, rowing furiously as Marcus slumped in the back, his breathing ragged. "That was insane," he said, his voice shaky. "That was survival," Lena replied, her eyes fixed on the distant lights of the city. Back at the docks, Dominic stood at the edge of the pier, his face calm, but his eyes burning with fury. "Find them," he said to Maria. "I don't care what it takes." Maria nodded, her expression cold. "They won't get far." Dominic stared out at the dark water, his jaw tightening. "They've started a war, and we're going to finish it." In the safety of the city's outskirts, Lena and Marcus docked the rowboat and stumbled onto the shore. They were battered, exhausted, but alive. "This isn't over," Marcus said, his voice heavy with dread. "No," Lena said, her jaw set, "but we're closer than ever." As the city loomed in the distance, they both knew the fight was far from finished. But for the first time, they had hope and the evidence they needed to bring the Rossi family down.